Hi, and welcome to How to Ruin Your Own Reputation. This is the podcast where I talk to people who have either lived through unique experiences or are living lives either professionally or personally that some people might not quite understand, and they're doing it unapologetically. Today is a fun one for me. Today, I'm talking to Jolene Beaton, who is a matchmaker and dating coach. She has matched and coached over 20,000 singles. She holds a master's degree in psychology and has trained in premarital and domestic abuse counseling. And she's the creator of Dating Explained, the 21 Day Challenge. Now, I'm very honest about the fact that I am very skeptical and cynical when it comes to love and relationships. And I know that there are a lot of people who feel the same way I do. However, I also know that there are even more people who are really, really hoping to find their person. So what makes matchmaking better than dating apps? And what goes into being coached for dating? Let's find out. Hello, Jolene.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on the show, Marcy.
As I said, I am excited and apprehensive at the same time. So my first question is, how does one get into the field of matchmaking? What makes a matchmaker a matchmaker?
So I think like a lot of people got in because they had some psychology background. They had some interest in dating and relationships. A lot of people, it was passed down from family members. That was my story, was not that. I was broke. I needed a job. He was in sales, and my girlfriend had interviewed with a matchmaking company, and she had said, "Hey, I'm turning down the job. I think you'd be great at it." And so I was like, "Oh, that sounds fun." I had seen these commercials on TV, for It's Just Lunch. And I was like, that sounds so cool. So I got the job and I loved it. I was like, this is fascinating. Listening, matching people and just listening to all the stories. So eventually, a few years in, I spent a couple years where the matching wasn't enough for me. We had so many clients that either loved us and frankly, a lot that hated us. And so I was like, what's that all about? Mm-hmm. What's with the people that really are not having a good time and don't like the platform or dating in general? So I dug in for a couple of years, listening to every single unhappy client, and coaching was born out of it. So I went to, my owner and I said, what's missing? Some accountability on these clients that come and join. So a lot of people feel like if they pay the big dollars that they're going to end up with their person, and that couldn't be further from the truth. So I started coaching them and telling them that what they wanted to hear. They wanted feedback. They wanted to know, a lot of them wanted to know, am I doing something wrong? Is it me? And then frankly, some people just hated the act of dating. And really that's probably the majority of people, they didn't like it. It's a lot of rejection, a lot of fear. Dating brings up a lot of uncomfortable feelings for a lot.
I guess you're also sort of a safe middleman compared to dating apps where you don't really know who you're dating, where they sort of feel that they're being vetted. I guess if they go through a matchmaker, they feel like they're being set up with someone, at least they won't be catfished, or at least somebody has met them in some way.
Yeah, we don't have any horror stories. 15 years I've been with this company, and it's blind dating, by the way. You don't see a photo. You don't know what this person looks
like. Interesting. Okay.
So you are really trusting us to say, hey, I heard you when you told me what you were looking for, and I just want you to go and meet this, guy or gal for a drink. That's it. Or a lunch. Tell me what you think. So it is very low pressure. We do vet them. So over dating apps, while dating apps have great people on them, there's a ton of scammers, and it becomes so overwhelming. I've had clients come to us because they're like, I had 200 messages in a day and it freaked me out, right? They're like, I'm over it. So they'll come to us because it's a way to consistently meet people that are highly invested. Both parties pay, men and women. And they like that. The men like it because they know that the woman is interested to some extent in a relationship. And, the women like it for the same reason.
Who would you say, who comes to see you most? Is there a certain age group that it's more popular with? Is there more men, more women? What do you see the most of? Or is it really varied?
So the women and men is pretty varied, but maybe in different age ranges. We service anywhere from like 25 years old to 80, but 25 to 30 is like not our sweet spot, I would say, because a lot of people are meeting still right out of college or, at the bars. They're just they're very engaged in their professional lives. So I would say 35 and people are 35 to 40 group where they're like, I have not paid any attention to my love life. I've been in school or I've been working. I haven't dated and now I want to, and I want to start second phase of my life. That's big. After divorce is big. I haven't dated in 20 years. I've got kids. What am I going to do? That's a big age group. And then after death or retirement, age 2 is huge. The 60s and 70s, huge. I just went to a wedding 3 weeks ago, 74 and 69. 69, she got married for her first time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy. Have you ever had to, turn anyone down, turn anyone away? Like, I'm wondering if people come to you. I used to be on apps, and I've seen people who seem to have very specific qualifications. Like it's almost as if they're picturing somebody in their minds, a certain height, a certain weight, hair color, personality, whatever. And have you ever told anyone or had to tell anyone that what they wanted was maybe a little unrealistic?
Like every day. Every day. Every conversation is like, tell me what your ideal is. What is the dream? And then let's tell you what's actually realistic. We do have to turn some people away, but typically only if they're really if they're looking only for one real religion and they're not open, right? So if someone's going to date only Jewish or only Christian or only one ethnicity, we really can't support something that narrow because it's never just that one thing. It's also and tall and attractive and fit and educated. So it's always more. So yeah, we're kind of like, a good way to describe it is if you joined a social club where people are invested, they're single, so it's a more targeted approach, but all you're doing is creating an opportunity for yourself to allow, a relationship to exist. You really aren't paying for a person.
And what would you say is the best first date? Do you set that up? Like, how involved are you with that first date?
So we set the first date up. So you guys don't know each other's last names, phone numbers.
So there's no social media stalking, figuring out, no finding out if you have friends in common, nothing. Okay.
So we tell you all about him or her, and I'll say, all right, I have someone I want you to meet. He's, his name's Chris and he's 40 and he's really looking to find his person, and he wants someone who's adventurous and spontaneous. And, and I think that sounds like you, and you guys both love music. And so just go, right? Feels very superficial. It can, but then you go and allow for the chemistry to exist as it is. Sometimes it's just spirits, nice person, but there's no spark. Other times it's like, wow, this is the right timing. Let's dig in. There's something here.
And where do you send them? Do you have like the same spot?
We work with all relationships in a lot of different cities. So we have great relationships with these restaurants. We make the reservations. And so you just check in with the host or hostess under your first date.
Oh, because I was going to say, how do you know who you're meeting? But I guess you go to the front and say, I'm here from.
Yeah. I'm going to say, I have a reservation, Marcy at 7. And then they kind of make sure, he's already here or whatever. Sometimes they'll wait for you in the lobby, and introduce themselves. And so it's a great way to meet someone. It feels very much reminiscent of meeting someone at the airport bar waiting for your flight, where you're just like engaging in a great conversation. And at the end, you either go, God, that was a great conversation. I love meeting people at the airport, right? Or you go, I hope he asked for my number. I really like that person. So it's very low pressure, And then
sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, second dates are probably more proper first dates. It's like you met someone. If both people felt a connection, that second date is almost like okay, now let's dig in. Is there something here?
So what's the follow-up for you? They go on that first date. Do they then report to you and let you know how it went? Or once the date is done, like how does that work?
So we tell them to exchange numbers and plan a second date if they're into each other. And there are a lot of times where we also say, hey, be transparent. This person is not going home and crying because you weren't interested in them. They're like, we really have some secure people that we match. They want the transparency. Hey, I thought this went great. Do you want to go out again? You know, I loved hearing about your family dynamic, your work, but for me, I just am trying to be very thoughtful about dating. And I didn't feel the connection necessary to move forward, but I just thank you for showing up and being great. Like just a kind, I'm not interested. That's what they want. Either the yes, we're moving forward or the kind no. And that seems to work really good.
See, I think what's also great is that it eliminates that whole ghosting part of it. Because I think ghosting is like one of the worst things you can do. It's also such a weak thing to do. But if you're part of this matchmaking company and you've paid this money and you've arranged this thing, somebody's going to know. Like you're not going to just disappear. So you'll at least know if the person goes, what happened? I never heard from them. It just didn't work. At least I feel like there's more closure with something like that. But I guess that's part of what you have to pay for. I have to ask because we're talking about it. How much does matchmaking cost? I know it must vary depending on what service, but what does it look like?
Say roughly like probably $5,000 a year. It's probably like a rough estimate of.
Is there like a guarantee of how many dates you get, or
guarantee of dates? But that's it. Guarantee of dates. You really have to. You have to look at this as, you know, a real investing in your love life. And so what I tell my clients, I say, you need to find value in this in the event you do not end up in a relationship. So what is that going to be? Is that going to be you learn something new about yourself during this process of connecting with so many different individuals? Is it that you challenged yourself to be actually able to say, no, I'm not interested? Because 95% of the women I talk to do not, but they believe that they're hurting someone's feelings by saying, I'm not interested in a second date. And so usually I just have to give them the language to say, I'm not interested, but also the platform allows them to feel more safe to do it in. But still, it's hard. Ghosting happens all the time, and it still does. And it is, I would agree with you, pretty weak.
It's very weak. I find it takes more energy to know that I couldn't even imagine that feeling of knowing that somebody's waiting for a response and just avoiding it. I think it's so much easier to just say, thank you, but I just don't feel it.
Well, and on the other side of that, they'll come back, you know, if we're talking about women to men, it's a little different. The majority of men don't face this as much because women don't ask as much, right? It's men asking women, do you want to go on this next date? Do you want to exchange numbers? The women are saying yes or no. So they're the ones put in the position much more often than men to have to say, no, I'm not interested. Right. So that's why I find that the women, you know, do have a harder time with it. Could be just because they're asked more, you know, and it's a harder thing to do. Societal tells us to people please and say yes. But I feel like a lot of the men, with the feedback that I hear with the women that say, no, I'm not interested, but I like you, you know, like, I like you as a person. They come back and they feel so valued. They feel so seen. So they'll call us and say, hey, Julia, I had a great time with her. I thought she was attractive. She was fun. She was interesting. She was funny. I thought she was adorable. She wasn't interested in another date, but more like her. Or what they'll really say is, let me know if she changes her mind. You know,
I could totally see that. What would you say your success rate is?
We don't judge a success rate by marriages or even relationships. We would say that, I don't even know if we do statistics. I don't know, 70% of our clients go on second dates, you know, like,
right.
And I don't even know if that's like a thing. We don't track it.
Right.
We're an introduction service. The reason we're successful is because we have great people that invest and they want to be there. So that's the rest is effort, 10%, you know, magic. I would say a lot of it's in showing up on a date to someone new and being not even authentic. That's not even the right word. Being awesome, right? Like really taking who you are inside and sharing it with someone, and asking good questions, not like, oh, so what do you do for work? Or tell me about your divorce, right? But asking questions like, what landscape do you feel at peace? Is it the mountains or the desert or the beach or the city? Who are you? Right.
Right. I guess anytime you go into a situation and it's not, I would think that, and this is for anyone who's dating, going into a situation with an agenda, with a checklist, that is a mistake. But if you go into it with the idea of, I'm going to meet somebody new and I'm going to share part of me with them and they're going to share, then I would think that sets you up for just even a better evening without thinking, is this going to be the one? Is he or she the one? I think that puts a lot of pressure. But what I'm hearing is that you're saying just go into it and just be open to whatever you learn from it and whatever the experience brings. Is that right?
Yeah, it really is. It's so hard for some individuals to do, not all. There's a lot of people who are really live their life like that in all aspects, business, health, fitness, dating. They just live their life, very open-hearted and very open-minded. And then there's people that are very fearful. I'm getting too old. I talked to a gentleman today, 66 years old. He goes, am I too old to date? I go, honey, you're in your prime. Like 100%, you're in your prime right now. Like you're successful. You have time. You're a gentleman. You want to travel all over the world. It doesn't get better than this. And
for sure. Now, when you're matching, when you see different people, now, do you think you're going more from a psychological part of you, or is it more from a gut instinct where you say, I feel like these two would be good together? Or is it more like, I think these two would be good together?
No, it is who do we have that's the best ideal fit at the exact time we're matching that person. So if I'm matching you, I'm looking at who's available in my database. Right. That's what I meant by not that glamorous. I have 15 men to choose from. I'm looking at your past feedback, and your past feedback says, hey, these guys are introverted. I want someone who's extroverted. I want someone more dynamic. So when we're matching, we're going, who out of these 15 available men in some rough parameters, right? Like kids, no kids, age group, things like that. Who has the most dynamic personality? And then we'll focus on that thing. We'll go, okay, you know what? She might like him. Right. So
on that note, so do you also because for me it'd be a little different. Do you also match same-sex relationships?
We do, but not so it's a different level of service because we don't in our traditional, it's just lunch. So in IJL, it is not same-sex dating. We do have a service outside of it that we will support, but it's a personal search.
Can you explain the difference with that? That's just confusing.
So in our traditional service, both people come and pay for a membership and are matched together on dates.
Okay.
On our personal search, one person would come and say, I'm looking to date, women dating women, men dating men. And then we would go out and find men and women to set them up with.
Oh, interesting.
You'll have a database of same sex.
Interesting. Okay. So where do you find them?
Different, just plugged into the communities. We have a lot of gay and lesbian matchmakers that we work with or that work for us.
Wow. That's interesting. Great.
Yes. They're more plugged into the matchmaking community for LGBTQ.
It's not your niche. However, but it sounds like you know that and you recognize that. And so you're not just taking people and not having the people. But so you're saying, but we find that you outsource, let's say, to find the right
interview. We really do want to know, can we take this person on, and do a good service by them?
Right. That's good.
It's the culture is really important, because matchmaking, like I said, there are a lot of people that blame the dating service, and that could be apps or matchmaking services or goodness, their friends, their friends that set them up on bad dates.
Oh, I've had that. Awful. It's so worse. I'm like, do you not know me at all?
I know.
Yeah, well, that was what I was going to ask you actually. When you said early on that people sometimes after they've been through the service and they haven't had luck, they'll say to you, am I doing something wrong? So I guess my question is, are they doing something wrong?
Some people, yes.
Because, so what's this been the coaching part now? So what happened there? Are people explaining what their process is and you're explaining what they're doing? Is there something that you can say, okay, maybe they're going in the wrong place, or maybe they're asking the wrong questions, or maybe they're giving too much of themselves or not enough of themselves? Are there certain mistakes that are pretty common with dating?
Yeah. So the number one thing I would say I see a lot is boring dates, right? So people that are not capable of asking great questions and not capable of answering them in a way that is interesting. So, and some people feel like they're boring. And, I feel like when I dig deeper, they will have had unique experiences, but because it's a part of them, they don't think it's unique to someone else, but it is. So what I tell a lot of clients is, and this is an exercise that I did years ago, because I met a storyteller that he was amazing to talk to. And I remember getting off the podcast with him and I thought, you know what? I need to step up my game. He was such a good conversationalist. So I went through 160 first date questions on Google, and I wrote all the answers out to every single one. How would I answer this if I was on a date? And what it reminded me of is I do have a lot of great stories. There's a lot of ways you would have answered something that wasn't true and didn't tell anyone about you. For example, someone asked me, what's something incredibly simple that brings you a tremendous amount of joy? And I thought that's a great question. And I answered, and I said, oh, that's easy. My daughter. And he was like, like, really? That's all you got? And I was like, all right. And so I thought about it for days. I obsessed over this question, an answer. And I thought that's how people answer questions on dates, just very matter of fact. And so I was driving on the freeway one morning and it was empty. It was like 5 a.m. and both sides of the freeway were empty. And immediately I was like, this is something incredibly simple that brings me a tremendous amount of joy. And it reminded me of like a trip to Sedona that I had taken and how peaceful it was and this newfound love of the mountains and, and how important it is to escape the rat race. Right. And so had I answered a question on a date that way, right, why don't we have some connection? Maybe he's been to Sedona. Maybe that's his favorite place. Maybe it isn't. Right. Maybe, maybe I don't know, like it leads somewhere other than, oh, my daughter. And he goes, oh yeah, me too.
It should. I think probably there are a lot of questions that have expected answers. That's sort of like the expected answer, right? Especially from a parent. So yeah, that's really interesting. So what's your Dating Explained challenge?
Oh, so the Dating Explained challenge. Well, I want to back you up and say that the number, like that's probably what people can improve on. But I would say the number one pitfall, and I just want to share with everybody, stop talking about your past relationships. All of them. All of them. Short, long, divorce.
Don't ask about either, right? Don't ask
about it. Like let the first couple dates just be what they are. Connecting to get to know someone new. Most people would feel horrified if, like I could say for myself, if my ex-husband was on a date with someone in my county in San Diego and telling her this new stranger private information about me, I'd be horrified. Right. And I'm sure it happens all the time. And so we really have to start looking at it like that. It is not fair to tell someone else's story to a perfect stranger, But
also shows that you're probably not over it.
Yeah, it definitely shows that you have not moved through that relationship, and you're healing through dating instead of coming into the dating world healed, which I don't pass a lot of judgment on. I don't really care about that. I think people can do whatever they want, but it is a huge thing, that exists in dating.
I want to ask, just because it just makes me think, I've also seen, and I haven't been on dating apps in a while, but there is some bitterness. Like sometimes you would read a profile and you can hear the anger in it. It's not even about I'd like or I'm looking for. It's more like, don't be don't be looking for this and don't be looking. And you're like, wow, this person is still pretty damaged. Do you get anyone who's coming to you and they're bitter or just like exhausted or just not in the right place to be dating?
Yeah. sometimes I wouldn't say bitter and exhausted. They do pay a lot of money. So usually at the stage we get them, they're excited and hopeful. So they feel really ready and they feel like they're doing something different. And the reality is they are doing something very different. This way of meeting people is much different than online or their traditional ways of meeting someone. So it's very thoughtful process. And I would say not bitter, but we do get people that aren't ready, right? That think they're ready. And then they'll go and we'll take them on as clients, but then through 4 or 5 dates, they'll ask, hey, what's not working? And we're like, you keep bringing up your ex, like maybe you're not ready. Do you want to talk about it? Like we'll try to give them the support that they need. Or if, deep in grief is a huge one. If someone's deep in grief, I'll refer them to a grief counselor if they're not already in it. You know what?
That's really good.
Yeah.
So, well, I think sort of what I said to you before we even spoke was that my issue with society is society tells us that we're not okay if we're single, tells us that we need to find our soulmates, that we need to find our other half, that we're not complete, and all the other cliches. And I think that makes a lot of people fearful and afraid of being alone. And so a lot of people will either settle for the wrong relationship because they're afraid of not being in any relationship. And so I would think that maybe there are people who come to you that are just, I hate to say it, but I won't say desperate, I'll say are just terrified of being alone, and they feel like maybe you're their last hope. And do you see anyone who jumps too quickly, who will latch on to a, kind of like, okay, just whoever you give me, I'll be okay with, and that could be scary for potential dates?
So those are really rare outliers. I would say that even with all the societal pressure that we see, when people come and want a relationship, they feel like they know their own mind and no one's going to tell them otherwise. They're like, I do want a relationship. I am capable of it and I want it. And so we don't take that away from anyone. We say there's room for everybody in the dating world. Obviously we wouldn't take people in living with a partner. You know what I mean? We you have to be single and available, but you are allowed to have trauma. You are allowed to have stuff, and you are allowed to find love again if you want it. A lot of these people, though, there's some that have been single for decades. So they're like, yeah, I've done that alone thing. Mm-hmm. I want to try this new thing that's not alone. So it's not everybody is, or they've been in relationships for decades. So they've never dated. It's very common that I'll get someone who has never, ever been on a date, married their high school sweetheart or right out of college.
Wow.
They've never been on a date, and it's
terrifying. Yeah, it would be absolutely terrifying.
Yeah. Some people just don't even do the apps. They skip them. They just go, that's not me at all. We have a very reserved clientele. I will say that.
I actually really love what you just said about that you don't have to be completely healed, but you can have some trauma, because the other cliche that you hear all the time is, you can't expect someone to love you if you don't 100% love yourself, or you can't be. And I think that that's unfair. Also, I think that you can. Wow, listen to me. Who am I? I'm talking like I believe in it. But no. But I think that that everybody should be open. It's not necessary. I've had people say, "Are you looking?" I'm not looking, but I'm open. And I think there's a difference there for me, right? I'm not looking, but I'm absolutely open. But I think it does people a huge disservice to make them feel like they have to be at a certain point in their life, that they have to be completely over everything, that they have to just be, 100% in love with themselves and in love with their life before they deserve love. And from what you said, no, everybody deserves love. And you don't have to wait until everything in your life is perfect to be open to meeting somebody, because your imperfect could be, listen to me, could be perfect for somebody.
I know it's hard to talking cliches in this business. I promise you.
I hate cliches.
I know.
But I think I don't know. It sounds really interesting. So tell me now, about the other project that you have going on.
So Dating Explained is a 21-day challenge. And what I have actually found is, it's a video that you watch every day. It's an app you download, and it's a video you watch every day for 21 days. And it has every aspect of dating imaginable, right? It covers every single thing, and for people to be okay if they are single, and that they do not have to have a relationship. So it really is focused on, relationships can be in phases, right? I view it as every relationship ends. I know this is morbid, but every relationship ends either because someone dies, or because one or both parties want to forge a new path in life. And everybody has to release control with that knowing. So all you can do is go measure the health of your relationships, in my opinion. Is it healthy? Is it happy? Is it good? And yes, I would say, every person should probably take their own little spiritual journey, whether that's therapy or moving to some jungle for 3 years. I don't care what it is, but some time to get inside your body and master yourself so that you can be a good partner. But yeah, it's absolutely attainable to coexist with another human and have it a really epic relationship. And people do it with ease all the time. I talk to a lot of widow and widowers that have had wildly successful, loving relationships. And there's no reason they can't do it again, because that's all they know is how to do it. So, the Dating Explained Challenge is my way of saying, get ready, get prepared to date, or just get real with yourself, right? So for someone who's never dated, this is a great challenge because it's going to tell you a lot about dating in the modern dating culture, right? It's going to very much validate that we already have all the tools to be successful in whatever we want. If someone has dated all the time and they're very frustrated, this will hopefully give them some insight into themselves and what they're doing wrong on dates. So it's a great challenge. And I've had a lot of people, even in relationships, dating, take the challenge and feel like they got a lot of it.
And how did they find it? How did people find it?
So it's on Google and Apple. You can just download. It's Dating Explained, one word, and take the challenge. You will join also. You have access to the community of singles. And I pop on there and give dating advice, specific dating advice, which is really helpful. So join the community. And I did just publish my first book, Dating Explained. It's not them, it's you. And buy it. It's good. It talks about the mechanics of, a great date. It gives you language. It gives you how to answer questions with depth and authenticity, but also productive of a date without getting into the TMI trap. And then it goes into about 25 reasons that you might be single. And one of them, Marcy, is
because a lot of reasons.
Yeah, because you want to be, and just be. Don't date.
And where do they find your book? Where do people find your book?
My book is on Amazon and Barnes and Noble online.
Okay. And we're going to have all the links in the show notes and how to reach you. So last thing before we go, is there anything else you want to share? Is there any one tip that you want to leave people with? Any little bit of insight, or have we covered it?
I would say, I want to leave you all with one tip, and that is, fortune does favor the bold, so really be dynamic, go after what you want. If you do want a relationship, get into that relationship. And if you don't want a relationship, do not date. You don't need to, people meet people. It still doesn't mean you can avoid a relationship. You might meet someone just literally, the universe will pop them out of the sky. So yeah, be bold.
No, that's great. Hey, I think that's a great message in life in general, is be bold and be brave.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. This was fun. I feel like I spoke way more positively about the whole thing. So look, you had an effect on me already. Yikes.
I'm sure I know a guy.
No, girl.
I definitely know a girl.
Okay, we'll talk after. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Good luck with everything.